Welcome to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset, the leading data and analytics company for the cannabis industry.
Welcome back to the High Rise, a laid-back, data-back conversation where we talk all things cannabis, from U.S. MSOs to Canadian LPs, products, and market analysis through the lens of data. My name is Cy Scott with Headset, and I'm joined as always by Emily Paxi of Poseidon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the High Rise.
And as you can tell by the noise in the background here, we're in another very special poolside session, this time Benzinga in Miami, with two very special guests today. We've got Sammy Dorf, co-founder of Verano, and Aaron Miles, Chief Investment Officer of Verano. Thanks for joining us today, guys. So let's start with some background and like how this thing all started. And Sammy, given you're the co-founder, I'd love to hear the story. I mean, given where Verano is now and the kind of scale, what did it look like at the beginning?
I started it back in 2014. Before I got involved in the cannabis industry, I was an attorney and did some real estate development. One of my close friends actually started one of the second dispensaries in Denver. So I watched that really grow and always was enamored by the cannabis industry. And then in 2014, Illinois passed its rules and regulations that allowed for the 60 dispensaries and the 21 cultivation centers. And I looked at my dad and I said, I'm done with being an attorney and I want to get involved in cannabis. We put together a team and we were successful winning one of the first cultivation licenses.
Amazing, amazing. And then from there, you guys have grown into 13 markets, 13 different states.
Yeah, it was pretty unique. I met George Arcos. He also had won a license. And what was unique about Illinois is that Illinois was really the first state that had the merit-based application process. And right after that, all the other states started following and doing these limited license merit-based applications. Maryland and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Nevada. And I looked at George. We became good friends with the association. I said, let's team up and start going after these. And we had the roadmap of how to win these licenses. And as I said, the other states followed, so we just started moving state to state.
That makes sense. And Aaron, how did you get involved into this this big endeavor here?
I spent about 20 years of my career on the U.S. side, like where things actually made a little bit more sense in the cannabis space. But random text message in 2018, would I ever consider taking a cannabis company public? And I started to explore the industry specs, the dynamics, the growth opportunities, and I said, why not? Let's see where we can really take this thing. So that was at Cresco Labs. Helped take them public. September of 2018 is when I started. We went public in November at the time. And then kind of fast forward, I had a stint at the New York Stock Exchange. I ran listings, in the Midwest there. But there was just some unfinished business in the cannabis space. So I kept running into the guys at Cresco, came back to Cresco, and then the opportunity at Verano presented itself. Our former CFO, Brian Ward, who has since been named CFO of Leaf Trade, presented an opportunity to me to actually come and help take Verano public. And I decided, given everything that they were building, and I actually didn't believe it at the time. They showed me the roadmap of what they wanted to accomplish, and I said, there's absolutely no way that you're going to get that all accomplished. Well, go public, 2 equity raises, 16 deals, closed 14, 2 debt amendments, tapped into those 3 times. They did more than they actually said. So couldn't be happier with where we're at. But as you said, the footprint is still growing and we're loving what we're building here.
I have to say the Verano story definitely blew me away because it was one of those things where you have to get up pretty early in the morning. I've been around cannabis a while. I've been investing in the space for a while. I've been watching the MSO space evolve since before the phrase MSO ever existed. And then Verano emerged and I was like, where the f- did this thing come from? It's huge. And they're like really showing some really interesting operational metrics. And I know you guys had to have a heavy lift this year where you're transitioning from IFRS to GAAP. And those are some of the things we're all working on as an industry, knowing that it's a heavy lift and we want to do it so that when we can uplist to the exchanges, we can, as you know better than most people too, Aaron, because of your time at the New York Stock Exchange, which, as we talked about on the spaces, is like the coolest nerd out of all history nerd outs in the world is the New York Stock Exchange. But anyway, I just had to say that.
And, I would say too, just to kind of add in what you're saying here, Emily, is there's a lot of frustrations in the space right now. And I think people are jumping the gun thinking that we're a mature industry. Right. And they don't realize how much we actually still have to build. Like take Illinois, for instance. We've been in Illinois since 2014. I mean, and we've been building the capacity and the operations that we have in Illinois. We're still stuck at 110 dispensaries. So the 185 are still waiting to come online. And so even in what's perceived to be a mature market, we're still waiting for that growth to happen. Well, we're doing the same thing on the corporate side. So there's a lot of building that we're doing, and we still have that startup mentality. But we have to do it quickly, and there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us here.
Yeah, I mean, what startups do you know that are only a couple of years old, doing over $1 billion in revenue, are publicly listed? I mean, the lift has been immense, and I think you're absolutely right. We've absolutely taken the timeline for granted. These are things that happen over 7, 10, 15 years in ordinary courses of business. In our industry, it happened like that.
Well, and think about it from this perspective, and Sammy can attest to this, is the way that you build your business and how rapidly you grow, you try to take advantage of every opportunity that you can. So all the sale leasebacks that were put on, these guys' tables to sign were very attractive at the time. Mm-hmm. But not a lot of people in the space had the foresight to say, well, what's that going to look like in 4 years? Mm-hmm. How, if interstate ever kicks in, and that's a big if, who can move away from their real estate or transition their real estate portfolio better than us, because we didn't take the sale leasebacks and we've leveraged free cash flow, and we haven't been diluted through multiple equity raises. We've been very methodical as we've built the business. And when the opportunity was presented to me back in, August of 2020, I didn't know much about Verano. And then you start going through the dynamics and you're like, okay, we're going to come out, we're going to pitch the same footprint and the best product, and all this stuff is going to be the same marketing pitch. But when we can actually point to an income statement and say, circle our margins, or look at our balance sheet and look at our, leasehold liabilities, like it rings true to what we're trying to build today. So
absolutely.
Yeah, not just the pace. I mean, obviously the pace is a big piece of it, but the complexity, with all these markets and every market just having its nuances. Like we try and do our research on the companies we talk about, and it can be really challenging just to understand, okay, they opened a new store, they did this acquisition, and it's like, well, what does that really mean in Ohio, and what is the dynamic in Ohio, and how does that impact things? And just the amount of time I spend away from the day job, to do this, it's like, it's shocking. And I imagine with what you guys are doing and the kind of revenues that you're driving, I mean, you're thinking about it every day. And I do want to get into like just the scope of operations, but before we do that, New Jersey, right? This is the week. This is the week that everyone's waited, a year and a half at least, since the first inkling of this thing is going to turn on. You guys are going to have 2 locations converting out of your 3 into adult use on Thursday. So what's going to happen? You guys going to be there? What is it going to look like?
It's quite the opportunity, and you are right. I mean, this is something we've been positioning for years now. I mean, Sammy and team have put us in a position to be able to take advantage of one of the original organic license wins in the state of New Jersey. And for us, again, when you have you're profitable since inception and you have such strong cash flow, we have the luxury of self-funding our CapEx. Well, how do you shift those dollars into different states? And so when August, the August 21, turn on was going to happen, well, you shift all your focus into New Jersey. And luckily we did. We had a 120,000 square foot cultivation facility, complete interior build out. We don't give canopy, obviously, for competitive reasons, but I can tell you it's, the strongest footprint in the state of New Jersey. And we've been able to implement all of the best practices that we know. So when we talk about pricing and being able to maintain a very, strong pricing profile, it's all due to the quality of product that we'll be able to put into the market. So absolutely excited to turn on, the Lawrence and Elizabeth locations for rec. We have a Neptune right by the Jersey Shore that's going to be turning on slowly thereafter, still working with the local municipalities there. But in reality, we don't look at this as solely a New Jersey turn on. People from New York are coming in. People from PA are coming in. Once we get Goodness Growth closed, we'll have the New York market. Obviously, we have a very strong presence in PA. So we are basically having a coming out party for 3 states, and we know that. So we can't drop the ball, and we're not dropping the ball. It's all hands on deck, and we're ready to go.
Are you guys going to be at your locations personally, or you got enough people on the team to handle it?
We will be there. A really early flight on Thursday, which we're not looking forward to given some of the festivities around here. But it's just cannabis, and you learn to adapt.
I would say it's incredible, right? Like before we started, when we talk about like how we got here. I remember applying for that license. That was one of the merit-based applications. That was the golden license, 150 plus applications from every company in the country and in Canada as well. And when we won that, I just remember running through the streets of Chicago, and that was to get to the medical program. We didn't even thought about the recreational side. And here we stand a couple days before this recreational program launches. I mean, just, we always have to, pinch ourselves as we're with these headwinds ahead of us. Like, remember where we started in just a short amount of time. Here we are, right? So it's extremely exciting for us individually and as well as for the entire team.
And I'll say just one thing to add too. I mean, a lot of props to our compliance and government affairs team. You have to work well with local regulators. this isn't a rinse and repeat for every state. So when you think about our footprint, when we close the Goodness Growth acquisition, we'll have 18 states, 16 active. We're running 16 different businesses. We're working with 16 different states and local ordinances and municipalities. And so our team, to get us to the point that we're at right now, it wasn't just Jersey turning on and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, all our assets are to follow. We had to work in, Reddington/Branchburg for our cultivation, and Lawrence and Elizabeth and Neptune. So kudos to our team as well. I mean, they've day and night working on this.
Yeah, I always say that unlike the tech industry where Zuckerberg coined the phrase move fast and break things, we have not had the luxury. We have had to be very, very mindful and considerate and good partners, because really, if we don't, the regulators will turn their backs on us before we can blink an eye. And I think there's something to it. I think that, Silicon Valley, move fast, break things, that mentality led to a lot of heartbreak, and we're seeing some of the downside of that right now. But I think our industry can be different than that and step up and be kind of above even what the regulators would hope, and the ones to lead the way.
I mean, it's going to be crowds. There's going to be lines. What do you think the headlines are going to be that first week, across all the papers in New Jersey?
I think this is a huge day for the state. Obviously, look at the social equity component that this is going to afford, right? I mean, more money coming in means more jobs. That means more opportunity to really level the playing field from a social equity perspective. But the headlines are going to be, lines out the door. I mean, we have a history of positioning ourselves in states that are transitioning over to adult use. It started in Illinois. How long were those lines? I mean, 8 hours. It was insane.
It was like a festival.
It was like a festival.
Yeah.
Like you were going to like a rock concert. Just the energy of the lines, and I expect the same thing on Thursday.
And so, but we've been through it before, so we'll be prepared. So, parking and loud, crowd control and stuff like that, we'll be ready to go. But I mean, I think the biggest thing that we want to highlight is just how ready we'll be from a product perspective, because tide raises all ships. We're very respectful of a lot of operators in this space, but not a lot are ready for the turn on, and there might be limited hours at some stores, but we're going to have a very, very long day on Thursday, and we continue to have very long days after that, just given the amount of supply we'll be able to bring to the market.
And it's not like the state gave you all that much time, right? I mean, after 18 months, it's like, surprise.
It's the
Here we go.
epitome of a pump fake in basketball. It was like, we kept jumping to try to block the shot, but.
Oh yeah, I'm just thankful it's happening, and it's a great call out. New York, Pennsylvania, it's pretty exciting, just to think about. Not that there's ever we haven't really seen it. I feel like there's tipping points all the time, but it still hasn't tipped. It's just like one more opportunity to tip. I just think that so many people, in New York, so many people in Pennsylvania that have medical frameworks, and Pennsylvania is certainly more robust than New York in that regard. But when I was in Philadelphia for the first time, and I remember in an Uber, and the driver was telling me how everyone goes to New Jersey to buy their alcohol, right? And it's just like, you just go across the river, like you don't buy it because it's all state run there. And that was, cannabis is a glimmer in the eye of New Jersey at that point. So I mean, it's going to be shocking to see what happens, and I'm really excited about the momentum that builds from just acceptance and adoption. And we were talking about the challenges at the federal level, the Cannabis Administration Opportunity Act, and Booker being a big sponsor, right? It's his state, right? And he's going to be, going to dinner parties with people and then seeing and that's going to be the conversation. Have you gone, to the Zen Leaf stores? That's what they're going to be talking about, and that can only help accelerate stuff on his part. And same thing in New York when that happens with Schumer. So yeah, very, very excited about seeing that. So from a data perspective, what are you guys looking for that day? Is it are you looking at baskets? Are you looking at volume? You're looking at how fast you can get people through there? I'm sure there are a lot of people going to want to spend a lot of time in the stores. I know I would, walking in for the first time adult use. I just want to look at everything, talk about everything. And I know all the people that are waiting 8 hours in line don't want me to be doing that. But what kind of data are you guys thinking about on that day one or week one?
Probably more of a week one. I mean, day one, it's just getting people in, getting a bag in their hand, having paid for it, and getting out the, right? But, basket sizes at this point probably won't make that big of a difference on, a day one or when rec turns on in a market. Over time, we'll obviously pay attention to where basket sizes are starting to net out. PA is a market where we generally run about $150 because it's more of a medical-based program, and you have that regularity and consistency of product, consumers coming in. So when we watch New Jersey, we'll watch to see how the basket sizes actually transition. and then how many repeat customers we're getting, and then what we need to do from that perspective. So we are watching the data very closely, but it's going to take time to evolve, just given the, how quickly this program's turning on, and then just, the amount of response that we'll get once it does.
That's a great call out. I mean, it's going to be kind of, I guess not day to day in that sense, right? We're talking to Abner with Ascend Wellness, and he was mentioning how a lot of people in line may be buying stuff for other people, right? And like, hey, you're going down, you're going to wait in line, you're waiting in a long line. So it may artificially inflate baskets and all that. And who knows? But yeah, as things shake out, I'm sure you guys will be looking at, what does it really mean?
And I'll say this too, like another data point is market share, right? And we need to when we're one of the original operators who has a probably, the best supply to come into the state, we're naturally going to have a large market share. So we'll watch the headset data to make sure that we're seeing how that trends, and making sure that, when we kind of see more players coming in and we kind of start to see a leveling out, that we're maintaining that market share. So.
Yeah, and we're working on getting that as fast as we can. I'm for sure going to be watching the numbers first week here.
Are there any products or brands you're most excited to get into the hands of the consumers that you think are going to just because I feel like people on the East Coast, we in California, I always say this, we take for granted the product assortment we have, but this is the first time it's going to be legal and they can walk in and see what different products and brands actually look like. So what are you guys excited about?
I mean, I would say is, the East Coast market, it's New Jersey, right? It's nitty, it's gritty. They've been users for a long time. So I'm really excited to get in our core Verano products in there, like our awesome flower, our pre-rolls, because I think that really sets the tone. There's a thriving black market, and they've all seen, edibles and stuff.
Sure.
So really just our high quality flower and the pre-rolls.
And I'll
Garden state grown.
Garden state grown. And I'll say this too. I think the big thing for us is making sure people recognize the quality, and then when they come back, the consistency and the availability.
There you go.
Branding will evolve over time, and we're at a point where we're starting to invest more in our marketing efforts. And Sammy and I look at our new, rebranded marketing deck all the time and salivate how beautiful it is. But California, if we were in California, our brands would be to the, nth degree, produced and redeveloped. In a state like Illinois, where people are like, what's the difference between indica and sativa? We have people sniffing terpene profiles and necessarily worried about branding, but it's evolving, and we will evolve our branding along with it. But for now, it's, getting that product out to market and making sure it's on point with what we would expect from a Verano product.
I'm excited for people to know more about terpenes on the East Coast. It's a game changer once you start to understand the way that they interact with your own physical situation. It's just really interesting. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, lots of learning to come, I think, for a lot of new consumers. Well, where can people learn more about Verano and find out where your stores are located if they happen to be in New Jersey or any market you're in?
Yeah, Verano.com. Investors interested, we're on the CSE, VRNO, OTC quoted, VRNOF. You can go to investors.verano.com. And, we sincerely mean this. We always appreciate the interest in our business. And there's multiple ways to get in touch with us. So if anybody has questions about the general business or investing in our company or anything like that, we just appreciate the support and the interest. So always feel free to reach out.
Thanks so much for joining us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset. For more information on Headset, visit headset.io.